How does a brand built on empowerment end up surrounded by controversy? That's the story of Fabletics, the billion-dollar activewear empire fronted by Hollywood star Kate Hudson. It sold more than leggings. It sold a lifestyle, a promise of confidence and community. But behind the glossy campaigns, the reality was far more complicated. Lawsuits over its subscription model, headlines about worker abuse, and growing questions about ethics and sustainability. And yet, it hasn't just survived. It's exploded, defying every expectation. So how did this happen? And what does its success really say about the world of fashion and the power of celebrity? To understand how Fabletics became one of the biggest names in activewear, we have to go back to the early 2010s, a moment when leggings were no longer just for the gym. Athleisure was everywhere, and brands like Lululemon had turned performance wear into a lifestyle. But there was a gap. Premium leggings came with premium prices, and for most women, a $120 pair wasn't realistic. That's where Kate Hudson came in. When Fabletics launched in 2013, it promised something different. Stylish, high-performance activewear at an accessible price point. And more than that, it promised an experience. Kate Hudson wasn't just lending her name. She was the face of the brand's philosophy, energy, positivity, and empowerment. In interviews, she spoke about wanting women to feel good about themselves, whether they were in the gym or running errands. That message landed hard. Fabletics wasn't selling leggings, it was selling confidence, and it had a Hollywood star to make it believable. But the real innovation and the reason Fabletics grew so fast wasn't the clothes. It was the business model. Unlike traditional retail, Fabletics relied on a membership program called VIP, which offered customers deep discounts in exchange for a monthly fee. For $49.95 a month, members gained access to exclusive pricing and curated outfit picks designed to make shopping seamless. It was marketed as convenient, flexible, and customer-friendly. Behind the scenes, it was a calculated move. Adam Goldenberg and Don Ressler, who had already built Just Fab and Shoe Dazzle, understood that recurring revenue was the holy grail of e-commerce. Combine that with Kate Hudson's star power and a flood of direct response ads on Facebook and Instagram, and you had a formula for hypergrowth. And it worked. Within 6 months, Fabletics had shipped over 1 million orders. By 2019, it was generating more than $400 million in annual revenue. Stores began popping up across the U.S. in prime locations like malls and shopping centers. Celebrity collaborations followed: Kelly Rowland, Demi Lovato, and the brand even expanded into menswear with Kevin Hart as a headline investor and ambassador. By every metric, it was a success story. Affordable leggings, big-name endorsements, and an army of influencers made Fabletics one of the fastest-growing activewear brands in the world. But for all the glossy marketing and Instagram-perfect moments, cracks were already forming. Because the very model that fueled its success, the membership program, was about to become the center of its first major controversy. The VIP membership program was marketed as a win-win, a way to get premium activewear for less and the convenience of curated monthly outfits. But as Fabletics scaled, so did complaints. What was pitched as optional and flexible often felt, to customers, like a trap. The problem came down to transparency. When new shoppers signed up for Fabletics' heavily advertised 2 leggings for $24 deal, they were often automatically enrolled in the VIP program. That meant a recurring charge of $49.95 every month, unless the customer actively chose to skip by a specific date. And skipping wasn't always simple. Hundreds of customers claimed they were blindsided by charges they never agreed to, while others described cancellation as a maze of phone calls, transfers, and hold times. Social media started filling up with angry posts. One tweet read, "They lured me in with leggings, then drained my bank account every month." Total scam. On review sites, the language was even harsher, with phrases like subscription nightmare and deceptive marketing appearing again and again. NBC News even aired a segment where a dance studio owner revealed she'd unknowingly racked up hundreds of dollars in charges she couldn't access, despite providing proof of payment. This wasn't just noise. In 2014, Textile, the parent company behind Fabletics, paid a $1.8 million settlement in California over allegations that it failed to clearly disclose the subscription terms across its brands. Even after promising improvements, complaints continued for years. To its credit, Fabletics didn't ignore the backlash entirely. After the first wave of criticism, the company promised clearer disclosures and easier cancellation options. It introduced reminders and notifications, claiming members received up to 14 alerts about upcoming charges. But for many, the damage was done. The narrative had shifted. Fabletics wasn't just a lifestyle brand. It was a case study in how aggressive subscription models could blur the line between loyalty and exploitation. And yet, the controversy didn't slow the company down. While customers vented online, Fabletics doubled down on growth, launching more collections, adding more influencers, and opening physical stores to legitimize its presence. From the outside, the brand looked unstoppable. But inside the factories where those leggings were made, a very different storm was brewing, one that would make the subscription backlash look like a minor inconvenience. By 2021, Fabletics had become a global powerhouse, expanding its product lines, opening new stores, and positioning itself as a feel-good brand built on inclusivity and empowerment. On social media, Kate Hudson shared messages about confidence, community, and even social justice. But thousands of miles away, inside a garment factory in Lesotho, the reality couldn't have been more different. That year, an investigation by Time and the Fuller Project uncovered shocking allegations at Hippo Knitting, a factory that produced Fabletics apparel. Dozens of workers came forward with accounts of verbal harassment, humiliation, and, in some cases, sexual abuse by supervisors. According to reports, women were routinely subjected to invasive searches, pressured into inappropriate relationships, and even punished for speaking out. One worker described being forced to crawl on the factory floor as punishment for being late. Others claimed they were denied bathroom breaks until they urinated on themselves. The investigation sparked global outrage. Fabletics, which had built its image on empowerment, suddenly found itself linked to a story of systemic abuse. In a statement, the brand called the allegations incredibly disturbing and immediately suspended operations with the factory. A senior executive was sent to Lesotho to oversee the response, and Fabletics pledged to pay affected workers during the investigation. The company didn't stop there. It announced a corrective action plan, partnering with local unions and human rights organizations to establish grievance mechanisms, implement anti-intimidation policies, and conduct quarterly audits by third-party monitors. These measures mirrored similar industry agreements created after past scandals in Lesotho's garment sector, where vulnerable workers, mostly women, have long faced exploitation. But critics weren't convinced. Many argued that voluntary audits and corrective plans often fail to create lasting change, pointing to the broader systemic issues in fast fashion supply chains. Adding to the skepticism was the fact that, after a brief pause, Fabletics resumed production at Hippo Knitting just months later, claiming the factory had complied with new standards. For advocacy groups, it raised the question, was this about protecting workers or protecting the brand's bottom line? The fallout didn't stop Fabletics' rise, but it permanently complicated its image. While the brand posted statements about ethics and accountability, the factory scandal became a defining chapter, proof that even companies built on feel-good branding are deeply tied to the hidden costs of fast fashion. And as critics would soon point out, the Hippo Knitting controversy wasn't the brand's only problem. From sustainability claims to environmental concerns, a new wave of scrutiny was on its way. As the factory scandal made headlines, another question lingered. Just how sustainable was Fabletics? The brand often spoke about progress, introducing recycled fabrics, launching charitable partnerships, and claiming a commitment to better practices. But when independent organizations tried to verify those claims, the results were dismal. In 2023, the advocacy group Remake gave Fabletics a score of just 2 out of 150 on its accountability index, a failing grade that signaled a lack of transparency across critical areas like supply chain ethics, environmental impact, and labor protections. For a company promoting empowerment and sustainability on social media, it was a damning assessment. This wasn't the first time the brand tried to signal progress. Back in 2021, Fabletics announced that it had donated 5,000 pounds of excess fabric to be recycled into building materials. It sounded positive, but in reality, downcycling textiles into insulation is a short-term fix for overproduction, not a solution to the root problem. Critics argued that Fabletics was doing what many fast fashion-adjacent brands do, marketing small sustainability gestures while avoiding the bigger changes, like reducing output or designing for circularity. The company's approach to waste reflected the same tension. Its core business model, the VIP membership program, was designed to encourage frequent purchases. For $59.95 a month, members received credits for new outfits, plus constant promotions and limited-time deals. It created a cycle of overconsumption, where skipping a month felt like losing money. With more than 2 million members, the program became both the company's engine and its biggest contradiction. A brand built on mindful living that profited from pushing more product faster. Even Fabletics' carbon-neutral certification came under scrutiny. Rather than cutting emissions within its supply chain, the company relied on carbon offsets, a method many experts now call ineffective at best and misleading at worst. There was no clear roadmap for reducing emissions, improving water usage, or eliminating harmful chemicals from production. And despite customer demand for transparency, Fabletics provided little detail about where most of its clothes were made, or under what conditions. At the same time, the brand leaned heavily into resale partnerships, promoting its collaboration with ThredUp as a sustainability initiative. But instead of encouraging secondhand shopping, the program incentivized customers to send in used clothes in exchange for new Fabletics credits. Another loop of buying more, not less. For critics, these contradictions made one thing clear. Fabletics wasn't a sustainability leader. It was a marketing powerhouse using the language of ethics to drive growth. And that growth wasn't slowing down. In fact, as the controversies piled up, the company was preparing for its most aggressive expansion yet. While critics debated its ethics, Fabletics was plotting its boldest move yet: global domination. By 2023, Kate Hudson had stepped back into an advisory role, handing the reins to Ashley Kechter, a former retail executive tasked with transforming the company into a billion-dollar lifestyle brand. The strategy? Expansion everywhere. Fabletics already had over 100 stores, but planned to more than double that number while entering wholesale for the first time with retailers like Nordstrom. In 2025, it pushed into new markets, including Mexico and the Middle East, opening a flagship in Dubai Mall and planning shop-in-shops across Europe. Behind the scenes, the company began using AI-driven systems to reduce waste and improve inventory planning, a move aimed at addressing long-standing criticisms of overproduction. Whether that signals real change or just another PR play remains an open question. At the same time, Fabletics expanded its product scope. Menswear, backed by Kevin Hart, now accounts for nearly a third of sales and is projected to reach parity with women's by year's end. It also introduced lifewear, designed for everyday use, and even ventured into medical scrubs. Financially, the momentum is undeniable. Fabletics is approaching $900 million in annual revenue and expects to cross $1 billion within 2 years. Membership remains the engine, with almost 3 million customers. 80% is paying VIPs at $59.95 a month. For a brand once accused of scamming customers, That's an astonishing evolution. But the bigger question is, how long can a model built on aggressive growth and marketing keep its shine in a world that demands accountability? Will expansion boost credibility or amplify the scrutiny? Kate Hudson may still be the face of the story, but its future will hinge on something bigger: whether Fabletics can reconcile its image with its impact. So what do you think? Has Fabletics built a lasting empire, or is its success another reminder that in fashion, power, and problems often go hand in hand? Thank you for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.